actually the worst team in the NBA this season?
The Oklahoma City Thunder. They went 44-28 last year, but you'll see soon their offseason moves. They kind of took a step back, and I think they did that intentionally. And I think they're going for the worst team in the league. I think they want that number one pick.
Yeah, when we were looking at this last night, we were looking at some roster updates that they had. And I mean, if you really look at their roster, you would not be shocked to see why the Thunder are most likely going to be the worst team in the league. Well, I've seen a lot of power rankings, and they were ranked last in almost all of them. And that doesn't surprise me. If you look, they had an interesting offseason. They traded for Kelly Oubre and traded Chris Paul away and got some picks in that Oubre trade. Then when they got Oubre, they traded him to Golden State for more picks. And then they traded Steven Adams to the Pelicans for picks. And then they got Al Horford from Philly to get more picks. And the same thing with Danny Green. And then they traded Schroeder away to the Lakers for picks. And obviously you saw Gallinari, who went to Atlanta, and Billy Donovan left. So I don't really know who's left in Oklahoma. I mean, maybe the arena staff, but I think even after a pandemic, I think at that point they're probably gone too. So the Thunder are looking real steep this year.
Yeah, I don't know. They're 100% going for the future, and I think that's evident whenever you look at their key incoming players. Their first guy is literally like future picks. Like that's your first guy. I don't know. They didn't really get better. They got a lot worse, which I think, credit to them. That's what they wanted to do.
Yeah, Sam Presti is known as a guy that likes to get the draft war chest, and he's got a lot of picks coming up. But we talked about this on our earlier pods. Picks don't necessarily mean you get young stars. It just means you get young players. And hopefully for the Thunder, they can get some young pieces out of this. But I have a hard time seeing them building straight from the ground up. I mean, you see a lot of other teams, they tank. For example, the Warriors, right? The Warriors last year, they had a major injury. So, like, all right, we're just going to rest some guys. We're going to not really play our superstars and go for that number one pick. And they didn't get number one, but they ended up getting James Wiseman. With this roster, their starting lineup is potentially, George Hill, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chuck Diallo, Trevor Ariza maybe at the 4, and then Al Horford. So I don't know how that roster works. Honestly, by the time we finish this podcast, Trevor Ariza is probably going to get traded again.
Yeah. He's going to end up on like 3 different teams by the time the season starts.
What about Al Horford? What is happening with Al Horford? He got the $35 million contract next year. He isn't expiring, I believe. So technically that is another commodity that they could trade and get probably another pick.
Yeah, he's not going to finish the year in Oklahoma City. At the very least, he's going to get bought out. So, toward that deadline, hey, team needs to pick up a center. Al Horford might be your guy.
So you're Al Horford, Caleb, right now, all right? Get your bald head ready. If you get $35 million, are you going to take any of that away and be like, nope, I'm out, I want to get out of here? Or are you saying, no, you guys want to kick me out? Give me all of my money.
I'm getting every single penny possible. I'm not going to give up a penny, no.
I wouldn't give up a penny either because at the end of the day, Al Horford's getting old and he's well out of his prime. One person that I'm interested to see, though, this year is Poku. What do you think about Poku? Do you see him getting much minutes out there? I mean, especially now with how thin that roster is, I could see him having a potential role in that roster, in the rotation. But do you see him being a potential All-NBA rookie?
No. I don't even think he's going to come over this year, honestly. I'd be shocked. Even if he is over, I don't think he's going to play much.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he did play because of the fact that I could see them tanking, and I think they're going to want to go with those young guys. Shai is going to be on his own there, though, so that's difficult for him. I don't know how he's going to handle being the lone young star after he had Chris Paul last year. A little bit confusing on the developmental end. I don't know how you feel about this.
Back in like 2014, I believe, Orlando was doing like a similar thing, not to this extent, but like had like a bunch of young guys out there getting a ton of playing time. And Oladipo went on to say something like, with all the young guys out there trying to prove themselves, like it just turned into like a very isolation heavy, like every man for himself type offense. And like, that's what I'm scared of happening there. But I like that they have George Hill there at the very least. I feel like
Not
he's a
good.
locker room guy to help settle everything down, but he might even be gone. I could definitely see a contender going for him.
I personally don't like George Hill. I don't think he's a good basketball player anymore. So I think he's a good piece though. When he was with the Kings, there was moments where he would go and get guys dinner for the team playing on the road, and he would do those small gestures. And De'Aaron really learned kind of how to be a leader from him, but I don't think he really learned as much as far as the game wise too much
Yeah.
from George Hill, which again is expected. I really don't see them doing much with a new coach, completely new roster. I would be shocked. I will say this: I would be absolutely shocked if they're not a bottom 5 team next year.
They're going to be a bottom 5 team. Honestly, I think that's what they want. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they want that.
Well, when the stack draft next year, I mean, you have all that. You're going to want to get the best player available, especially given the fact that they don't have many young pieces besides Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. That's really all they have, and then whatever happens with Poku. So let's go to the buy or sell segment. For those of you guys know that how this game works, we go buy or sell on what we're going to do on how you feel about this situation. So first, we're going to go to a guy in Oklahoma City that Caleb believed was not even going to come here.
Getting better on the court feels great, but you gotta get into shape as fast as you can because the guys are here, ready all the time, ready, and getting better on the court. You gotta work tough from the first day because we don't have a lot of times. Like the camp is like 20 days or something like that, so we gotta pick up everything fast and just learn fast as we can, and be there 100% every day.
So we'll just ignore the fact that you were completely wrong on Poku not being here. But
It's a horrible idea. That's a horrible idea. He is not ready to come over to the NBA.
That's not the question.
I'm telling you though, like no bias, no jokes or anything. He is not ready to come over. He is far from ready to come over.
We'll clip that and see if Caleb is right or wrong.
Dude, he is so raw. And he has skills, but those need to be developed a lot.
Well, Poku said it himself. They got a lot of work to do this year.
He has to put on a lot of weight. He has to build up his body. That's a bad idea to play him already. I'm serious. I'd leave him over there.
You sound very adamant about this. You want to
listen? I'm telling you because it happens all the time. Where every single year you'll have a guy come over too soon. Like Dragon Bender back then. Yeah, he was a top 5 pick. Horrible idea to bring him over. Everybody knew right away he was not ready to play. They played him. It didn't work out.
I agree. Well, the question to you is, the Thunder will be a contender by 2025. Are you buying or selling?
It depends where the picks land. Like, yeah, they have a lot of picks, but like those picks could be like 19. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what happens if all these picks that they get, like 10% of them land in like the lottery? You know what I mean? Like, that's a good chance, but you got to really draft well, and he does draft well. But I don't know. 2025 seems like seems like a shot in the dark.
You're buying or selling, Caleb? I need to know.
Sell.
All right. I'm gonna go sell. And the reason why I go sell is I think Sam Presti has the ability to get there, especially with the war chest of picks that he has. But I just don't see him getting to the point of getting another superstar wanting to come to Oklahoma City. Unless he drafts them, that's going to be very tough. And if you look at his draft history, yeah, it's been good. You've gotten James Harden in the top 5, Russell Westbrook in the top 5, Kevin Durant at 2. So when you get these guys at top 5 picks, it's not really much of a crapshoot. You're kind of going for those guaranteed guys. I don't see the Thunder being in that situation besides this offseason, but even then, they might get one superstar. I don't really see them being a contender. I'm selling. Yeah. Next up, we're going to go to Thunder new head coach and see what he said about Al Horford.
Al, speaks for himself. That's he's had an incredible career to this point. He's yet another guy that we're extremely fortunate that we're able to have a player of his caliber, a person of his caliber in our organization. It just, layers onto the legacy that exists here, all the great players that have come through here before Al and George Hill are 2 guys that I would say are in that category where, we're extremely fortunate that they're here and they're going to add tremendous value to the organization while they're here. So we're really looking forward to getting started with them.
All right. That's Oklahoma City coach new head coach, talking about Al Horford. Of course, they're going to gas him up, but realistically, Caleb, does he finish this season on the Thunder? Are you buying or selling that he's going to stay there?
So there's no way he stays there. Just based off what they're going for and how his season went in Philly, no way he stays.
I would not be surprised if he stays. I'm going to go with buy, and here's my reasoning. I think Al Horford's market is going to be really tough. At the end of the day, what teams really have $33 million in cap space that they can give away?
Nobody. He's going to get bought out. I don't think he's going to finish this season there.
Him requiring to be bought out makes him have to give up money, right, Caleb?
Mm-hmm. But what are they going to use it for? They're not going to spend it on anybody. They're building through the draft.
Yeah, we'll see. I think you're wrong on that. I think they're going to try to get a pick out of it. They won't end up getting a pick. He's just going to expire in Oklahoma City, and he'll be gone. Next up, let's go to what Dennis Schroeder had to say about his former GM.
It's a business. Everybody in this locker room, we play for OKC right now. We give everything we have for this organization. GM Sam Presti is probably the best GM I've ever seen, so he's an honest person. And when it happens, it's probably for the business, and then we're going to move on.
That's former point guard of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Dennis Schroeder, who just got traded. He said Sam Presti is the best GM in the league. Buy or sell?
I'm going to sell because I think the best GM in the league is Rich Paul.
Don't say Sleepy Danny.
No, it's Rich Paul. I've never seen a guy be able to manipulate players as well as he does.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go buy. And the reason why I think he's the best GM in the league is I think if he were given this roster, given this team, given his situation in any other franchise, I think that makes a huge difference. I think at that point, you have a guy who is able to bring out big free agents to a big market. And if you put him on a big market, I think he's a much, much better GM. And I still think he's the best GM in the league right now.